Hi, today I'm going to be talking about trapezoids and kites. This is the first time I'm going to be doing notes a little bit different, and I'm going to make notes extra credit. So if you go to the Google Classroom, you'll see these notes in Google Classroom, and then you can watch the video and fill out the notes and then submit them for some extra credit. I'm trying to give students an opportunity to kind of watch the video and hopefully learn a bit more than just watching it in class. So, trapezoids. What makes a trapezoid? It's still a quadrilateral, because we've been working with quadrilaterals for a while. So it's a quadrilateral. Remember, quadrilateral has 4 equal sides. So it's a quadrilateral with just one pair of parallel sides. So most of the shapes we did before Christmas were parallelograms. We had lots of different types of parallelograms because we had rectangle, rhombus, square, we had all those. This one, we only have one set of parallel. So our bases are going to be parallel, and then the other two sides are going to be considered legs. The other two sides are legs. Now, because we only have one set of parallel sides, the same side interior angles will be supplementary. So that means angle A plus angle D, this angle and this angle, if I put them together, that will equal 180. And then B and C, this angle and this angle, if I put those together, that's going to equal 180. Now, what you have to be careful of is on a parallelogram, these were also adding up to 180, but that's not true this time because this line and this line isn't parallel. This one and this one is the parallel. So these are 180, these are 180. So those are the angles that add up to 180. And because those add up to 180, we can find out some missing numbers. So let me go ahead and scroll this. So like I said, these two angles here are going to add up to 180. So if this is 180, subtract 140, I'm going to get a 40 here. If this is 70, I can take 180, subtract 70, I'm going to get a 110 here. So here's my parallels. You're always going to kind of wrap around the parallels. So these two angles added up to 180. These two angles added up to 180. So same with this one. Here's my parallels. So these two angles add up to 180. So 180 subtract the 162. I'm going to get 18 here. These add up to 180. So 180 subtract 105. I'm going to get 75 here. So that's 75. So always look to see what two sides are parallel, because that's going to tell you what adds up to 180. Notice this angle and this angle does not add up to 180 because this and this is not parallel. So this last one on this set, I've got a 90 here. Well, if this is 90, this is going to be 90. It makes it a right trapezoid. I'm going to put a 90 there. Wrapping around this trapezoid, wrapping around these two angles, if this is 150, I can subtract and get 30 here. So that's a 30. So some of the problems on your homework are going to look like this, where it's any old trapezoid. I give you two of the angles, you're going to find the other two. You will find the other two. Now the next thing is going to be isosceles trapezoids. Now an isosceles trapezoid, same as an isosceles triangle. An isosceles triangle, we have two equal sides. On isosceles trapezoid, we have two equal sides. So this leg, these two legs are going to be the same. The bases are going to be different, but the legs are going to be the same. And because the legs are the same, we end up with this angle matching this angle matching this angle. So those are our angles that are going to match. I could cut this trapezoid down the middle and fold it in half on top of each other, and this side would line up. It makes it symmetric. Also, because we have an isosceles trapezoid, we have the diagonals of the isosceles are going to be congruent. So if I put some letters here, A, B, C, D, that would tell me that AC is going to be congruent to BD. And because those are congruent, and because of how these cross, I know this little piece here is going to match this one. This piece here would match this one, which also tells me the entire diagonal would match the entire diagonal. So they don't cross in the middle like all of our parallelograms did, but they do still cross. And when I cross, this little segment will match this little segment, this bigger segment will match this bigger segment. And then don't forget that these sides are going to match. So that also tells me that I've got a triangle here and a triangle here that are going to be congruent. Because if you remember back to my side, back when we did congruent triangles back months ago, these two triangles are going to be congruent because of side. So that's our isosceles trapezoid. So let's go ahead and look at some different problems using isosceles trapezoids. So these three down here, like I said, because they're an isosceles trapezoid, whatever's on this side will match here. So I can put a 115 there. Wrapping around these corners, they have to add up to 180. So 180 subtract 115 is going to give me 65. So I get a 65 here and a 65 here. So on the isosceles trapezoids, I'm only going to give you one number. So you're going to get the one number. The same number is going to go on the other side. Then use your 180 to find the other angle off of the leg. Same number goes there. So I've got a 38 here. So this is 38, this is 38. Wrapping around the trapezoid has to add up to 180 because they're same side interior. I get 142. So 142 here and here. So those are 142s. Last one in this set, 116, 116. Coming around this corner has to add up to 180. So 180 subtract 116, 64. So I get a 64, 64. So on your homework, you've got some problems that look like this also. They're isosceles trapezoids. I will give you one number. You're going to find the other three. You're going to write those in. Now we're going to look at some things that deal with sides. All the ones up there dealt with the angles. You're looking for the degrees in the angles. Now we're going to look at some sides. Now, segments. We're still in isosceles trapezoids. So I'm still going to say that these are isosceles. And because they're isosceles, whatever this is, this will match. So this is 15, this is 15. So I can put a 15 here. Like I said before, these two diagonals will be the same. These two little guys will match. So this is 5, this is 5. These two bigger segments will also match. So this is 13, this is 13. So those are just copying down what numbers match. So X, 24 match. 7 matches the Y. Z matches the 21. So these go real quick. This last one takes a couple of tiny little equations. X, here's my X. So 2x equals 4. So 2x equals 4, x is going to be 2. Here's my y. 4y equals, that's a 16. 16. Divide by 4, I get 4. And then my last ones are going to be 3z 15. 3z equals 15, so z equals 5. So these three problems, you're looking at the segments that got created when you did the diagonals. And then don't forget, the entire diagonal also matches. I believe there's one on your homework where I give you the entire diagonal, and you have to say that those match. So that's trapezoids. Now we have one more thing dealing with trapezoids. So let me scroll down again. And that's the mid segment. Now, mid kind of sounds like middle. Segment, of course, is a segment, connects 2 points. So this is the segment that's in the middle of the trapezoid. So this segment here is the mid segment. And it's in the middle because these two segments are the same. So it's the middle of this leg. These two are the same, so it's the middle of this leg. So I've got a midpoint here and a midpoint here. The mid segment's going to connect those midpoints. It will connect the midpoints. The formula, the length of the mid segment is half of the sum of the length of the bases. So that's our formula. You could also kind of think of this as B we know is the mid segment. So the mid segment is going to equal the two bases, which would be the top and bottom. So top plus bottom divide by 2. It's kind of like an average. If I know the top and bottom, the mid segment will be the average of the top and bottom. And anytime we're trying to find the average, you add them up. Because there's only two things, you divide by 2. So let's take a look at some problems dealing with mid segment. So mid-segment. This first one, I'm missing a mid-segment. And like I said, the formula was the mid-segment, which in this case is x, equals the top plus bottom divide by 2. That's your formula. Well, I can do this. 12 plus 40 is 52. Divide by 2, x equals 26. So therefore, this mid-segment is going to be 26. It's halfway in the middle. So same with this guy. The mid-segment, which is x, equals top plus bottom divide by 2. Well, 18 plus 48, I can do that. That's 66. Divide by 2, I get 33. So this mid-segment is 33. It's halfway in the middle. Now this next one's a little bit different. My mid-segment, I know this time. So my mid-segment's 15. That's going to equal top, bottom. Doesn't matter which one's which. You can either put the x first or the 22. I'm putting the variable first if I can. So I'm going to put x plus 22. Divide by 2. So I'm still using the formula. The formula is not changing. So it's the middle equals top plus bottom divide by 2. Well, this time it's a little bit more of an equation. So I'm going to get rid of this divide by 2, I'm going to multiply by 2. So 30 equals x plus 22. Now I can subtract the 22, x equals 8. So I get an 8 here, which makes sense. 22 plus 8 is 30. 30 divided by 2 is 15. So on that one, I was trying to find one of the two bases as opposed to the mid-segment. Now these three are a little bit trickier because they involve a little bit more of a formula. This formula is a little hard to see. It's 5x minus 1. So we're using the same formula. Mid-segment equals top and bottom. Like I said, it doesn't matter which one's which. Divide by 2. There's your formula. Now, all of this over here I can go ahead and do because this is just numbers. So 21 plus 27 is 48. 48 divided by 2 is 24. So I can do that. So I get 24 there. Add the 1. 25. X equals 5. So X was 5. Which means if I were to plug it back in, 5 times 5 is 25. 25 subtract 1 is 24. Which is in the middle. 24 is halfway in between 21 and 27. So this guy, we're going to do the same thing. The middle, 9x minus 3, equals top and bottom. Add them together, divide by 2. That's the formula we're going to use no matter what. The formula is not changing. So make sure you always follow that formula. The middle equals the top and bottom, divide by 2. Well, again, this is just numbers. So I can do this. 11 plus 19 is 30. 30 divided by 2 is 15. So 9x minus 3 equals 15. Add the 3. 9x equals 18. So x equals 2. And like I said, we can double check ourselves. 9 times 2 is 18. 18 subtract 3 was 15. So this middle is 15. Well, 15 is halfway in between 11 and 19. Halfway in between. Now this last one is even trickier. Follow the same formula. The formula's not changing. The middle, which was 20, equals top and bottom. We're going to add together. So we're going to add this guy and this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and combine these like terms so that I have a little bit more room over here. So I'm going to combine the x's, 7x. Combine the numbers. I get negative 23. Don't forget to divide by 2. So always divide by 2. Because it's kind of like finding the average. To solve this, get rid of divided by 2 by multiplying by 2. So 40 equals 7x minus 23. Add the 23. 63 equals 7x. So x must be 9 because 63 divided by 7 is 9. So x is 9. Now again, I can plug this in and check it. If I plug the 9 in, 5 times 9 is 45. 45 subtract 15 is going to give me 30. Plug the 9 in. 2 times 9 is 18. 18 subtract 8 is 10. So it makes sense. 20 is halfway in between 10 and 30. So mid-segment. You've got a pretty decent section of mid-segment on your homework. A couple of the problems are just plain old numbers. And then you've got some other ones that are going to be equations. Now, this is trapezoids. The next part's going to be kites. So you've got 2 different homework sets. You've got one homework page involving trapezoids. You have another homework involving kites. So let's go ahead and switch to kites. So a kite. Our kite is a quadrilateral with 2 pairs of adjacent. Remember, adjacent means next door. I'm next door to Ace's room because I share. Adjacent's next door. So adjacent sides congruent and no opposite sides congruent. So the opposite sides aren't going to be congruent on this one. On all of our other parallelograms, opposite sides were congruent. But this time it's going to be the adjacent. So these 2 guys here are going to match. These 2 here are going to match. So that's what our kite's going to look like. That's what our kite's going to look like. Now, because we have a kite, there's certain things you're going to be able to find out. I know there's a lot of writing there that was kind of hard to see, but I'm just going to kind of bring up the most important things. This kite, I could split down the middle here, and this side is going to match this side. So this angle here will match that angle there. Those will match. Also, because I can split it down the middle, everything inside here is going to be 90s. So all of these will be 90s in the middle. Because those diagonals bisect each other. Or sorry, I said that wrong. The diagonals are perpendicular. The diagonals are perpendicular. I also know that this bottom angle here and this top angle here, the up and down diagonal split it in half. Now, these don't get split in half, but these do. So if this whole thing is 80, each side would be 40. If this whole thing was 20, each side would be 10. On this one, that's not true, because you're going to have a smaller one and a bigger one. So now let's take a look at some angles and milling joints. So angles. So on our angles, we've got 3 problems here that I give you 2 of the angles of the kite. And I want to find the other 2. Now, like I said, straight up and down here, they would match. So this is 110, this is 110. These 2 side angles are going to match. Now, this one and this one will never match. And I don't have anything to do with a 180 because I don't have any parallel lines. So to find this last angle, I'm going to subtract. I'm going to add these 3 together. So if I add these 3 together, 110 plus 110 plus 98, I get 318. If I subtract from 380, I'm going to get my last angle because a quadrilateral always adds up to 360 degrees. So my last angle is going to be 42. So I get a 42 there. So this guy, I've got 4 angles. I know the top and bottom. So I can add the top and bottom together to figure out what I've got left over. So 102 and 34, add those together, I get 136. So if I subtract that, I get 224. Now that 224, because these 2 angles are the same, I can split that in half. So I'm going to split that 224 in half, divide by 2, I get 112, 112. Now if I added all 4 of these together, they're going to add up to 360. This guy's pretty much the same as this guy. I gave you a side, so this side's the same. I'm trying to find the 4th one so I can add the 3 together. So 100, 200, 235. So 360 subtract 235 is going to give me 125 left. So I have 125 left there. So some of the problems on your homework, you're going to have a kite, you're going to have the main angles of the kite, and you're going to find the missing 2. You will find the missing 2. These 3 problems. Now these I drew the diagonals in. So on these we're going to kind of focus on the triangles. So I've got 4 triangles here. These 2 triangles are the same. These 2 triangles are the same. So that's what I'm going to do first. That's a 12. If this is 12, this is 12. If this is 48, this is 48. So I'm going to put those in first. I know everything inside here is 90. So I can put 90s in all my middle. Because remember, those diagonals were perpendicular. Now I've got triangles that I can find the 3rd angle. And we've probably done that 150 times. These 2 add up together, give me 138. So 180 minus 138, I get 42 left here and here. This one, 112 and 92, add those together, I get 102. So 180 subtract 102, I get 78. So 78 here and here. So I'm going to find all of the angles of the triangle, all of them. This guy, same thing. I've got a 20 here, I've got a 20 here. I've got a 35 here, I've got a 35 here. 90's in the middle. Now it's actually a little bit simpler. If this is 90, you know the other 2 angles in the triangle have to add up to 90. So it's just a little less work. 90 subtract 20 is 70. So 70's here and here. Again, this triangle, I've used up 90. So I know this angle and this angle have to add up to 90. So 35 subtracted from 90 is going to give me 55 here and here. So it's just a little bit of work if you do it that way. And then one more of this type. I've got a 20 here, got a 20 here. I've got I can't read that. 80 here, 80 here, 90's in the middle. And all three of these triangles are the exact same picture. So you can't necessarily go by the size of the angles. You just have to go by my numbers. But this triangle here, 80, this is going to have to be 10. This is 10 because these two had to add up to 90. Because 90 and 90 gives me the whole thing is 180. Down here, I've used up 90. So this one and this one has to add up to 90. So these must be 70s. So those are 70s down there. Those are 70s. So on your homework, this is the second homework paper. You got some problems dealing with the angles of a kite, just the main angles. You also have some problems dealing with all the little angles that get created when you draw in the diagonals. Now, 3 problems to go, and they're pretty quick. So last 3. They're quick ones. Remember on a kite, those match, those match. So that's all I have to do. 7x equals 14. X must be 2. 5y equals 20. Y must be 4. This one I drew the diagonals in, but it doesn't matter. This is 10, this is 10. This is 15, this is 15. This one, a little bit trickier, but I know these will match. 2z equals 24. Z equals 12. These are going to match. 7y equals 42. Y equals 6. So those go really quick. So like I said, there's 2 different homework things. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, I've decided during this remote stuff, if you fill in your notes, you can get some extra credit. So you can open up your notes, kind of watch the video if you need to watch the video again, kind of fill out the notes as you're rewatching the video. Fill out the notes as you're watching the video. Then there's 2 homework assignments. The 2 homework assignments, one of them is trapezoids, the other one is kites. Make sure you get the homework assignments done before I post the keys. After I post the keys, I will not let you turn them in. I will not accept them. Now the notes, because, I've already done everything on the notes, they can be turned in a little bit later. That's not a big deal. And they're extra credit. So take the opportunity for the extra credit because I never give extra credit. Take this opportunity. So, 2 homework assignments. Do your notes. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye.